To be an Avenger is an honor that many Marvel heroes strive for, and every year, more and more make the cut. Heroes like Eric Brooks, or as most of us know him, Blade. Blade has been around since 1973, so it actually took me by surprise when I learned that he didn't become an actual mainline Avenger until Avengers Volume 8, number 12. Born with an extremely unique vampire physiology, Eric used his powers to wipe out evil vampires, taking on the title of Daywalker. Now, to be fair, he was once part of the Mighty Avengers before being invited to join the main Avengers team by Black Panther. But while on the Avengers, he did a lot. Like, I mean a lot. He ended a vampire civil war, saved Ghost Rider in hell, battled the Dark Elf Malekith in the War of the Realms, helped stop the Egyptian god Khonshu from taking over the entire Earth, and he recruited Dracula and his vampire nation to help fight Null, the symbiote god, and King in Black. Blade came to the Avengers with a heck of a lot of supernatural expertise, and he was amazing on the team until he left to be Dracula's own sheriff, which... what? Roberto da Costa, the mutant who also goes by the name Sunspot, first ever joined the Avengers, accepting Captain America's offer alongside the mutant Cannonball. Sunspot came across as a bit of a comedic member of the team, and he didn't really seem to take his Avenger status as seriously as others did, but that pretty quickly turned around. Where Iron Man used to fill in the laid-back billionaire role on the team, Roberto stepped into that role pretty smoothly and got the team out of quite a few problematic moments. It's arguable to say that he really stepped into his own as an Avenger when he bought the whole of AIM and used the organization to create his own Avengers team in New Avengers Volume 4, and then again in US Avengers. His time as an Avenger not only boosted up his status from a C-list hero to one in the spotlight, but it also brought multiple creative Avengers series, which as comic book fans is something that we will not be upset about, ever. Maya Lopez, also known as Echo, is honestly really cool. She has really cool photographic reflexes just like Taskmaster. She's been Ronin for a time and even been a host for the Phoenix Force, and she also became an Avenger. Now, initially Maya was actually a bit of a villain, being manipulated by the Kingpin in order to try and take down Daredevil. Luckily though, Maya was able to discover the truth about Kingpin and the lies he fed her, and that pushed her into reshifting her focus to become a hero. It was from there that she became Ronin, and thanks to a good old recommendation from Daredevil himself, she met up with Captain America and started working with the New Avengers in 2005. She would eventually be brought down by Elektra, and she would eventually be saved and revived, helped out during World War Hulk, Secret Invasion, and she even worked very closely with Moon Knight for a while before being revived yet again, and was eventually granted the Phoenix Force. She would eventually join the actual true Avengers in Avengers Volume 8, number 54 from 2022, facing the multiversal Masters of Evil. Next up, a former Marine and scientist turned superhero, Adam Brashear is not only one of the strongest heavy hitters in Marvel Comics, but he is also one of the smartest characters around. Blue Marvel didn't actually make his debut in Marvel Comics until 2008, but when he showed up, his origin story retroactively placed him in the Marvel Universe way back in the day. His origins take place in the 1960s during a project to use antimatter as an energy source. Adam and his best friend Connor were caught in an explosion that turned Adam into a living, stable antimatter reactor, which should in theory pretty much impossible, and it gave him an insane amount of power. Brashear would rejoin the superhero community alongside Luke Cage's 1970s Mighty Avengers, which in the real world happened in 2014, before he went on to join with Captain Marvel and Black Panther on the Avengers adjacent team known as the Ultimates in 2016, and most recently, he joined the Defenders and went rather, beyond. Next up, Eden Fessy, aka Manifold, first appeared as an incredibly underrated hero in Jonathan Hickman and Brian Michael Bendis' Secret Warriors series, alongside a group of other legacy heroes recruited by Nick Fury in 2009. Now, Manifold is a mutant with the insanely godlike ability to manipulate space, which he most often uses as a teleporter. He was actually the student to another mutant teleporter known as Gateway, but following with writer Jonathan Hickman, Manifold joined the Avengers in Avengers Volume Volume 5 in 2014/2015 for one of the greatest Avengers runs we have had in a long time. As the Avengers expanded to a bigger scope than they have ever done before, Manifold was pretty instrumental in some of their galaxy-wide conflicts, and he even sacrificed himself during Secret Wars. Thankfully though, he was brought back and has become one of the most powerful and versatile mutants and Avengers. Now there have been multiple Nova Primes throughout the history of the universe. Richard Rider is absolutely the main one and he is fantastic, but when we first got Samuel Alexander in Point One Number 1 in 2011, he brought just a whole different vibe. Granted, being a younger guy with some huge shoes to fill, he doesn't exude the same kind of power that Richard Rider does, but that doesn't make him any less powerful. Sam has grown into a hero all of his own. He's fought alien warlords, evil Avengers doppelgangers, and interdimensional monsters, and he absolutely deserves the Nova mantle. While he can be reckless from time to time, thanks to his youth, independence, and loyalty, he still got offered a spot on 2016's all-new, all-different Avengers #1 by none other than the God of Thunder, Thor himself. Unfortunately for the Avengers though, Nova left the team pretty soon after with a few other younger heroes to form the Champions. And one of those young heroes was none other than Miles Morales. In the aftermath of the multiversal event Secret Wars, the second Spider-Man of the Ultimate Universe, aka Earth 1610, joined Marvel's main Earth 616 reality, and not too long after that, he also joined the Avengers in 2016 alongside Nova and Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. Now Miles has essentially all the same abilities as Spider-Man himself, but then he has some that are wholly his own, and they're actually pretty cool. His signature difference in my eyes is his venom. It's like a form of bioelectricity that he can emit from his body and use in some really cool ways, like in punches, beams, and blasts, and he can even infuse it into his own webbing. Miles is also able to use a spider camouflage to make his whole body and even his clothes and costume go invisible, but as I already said with Nova, these younglings weren't on the Avengers team for very long, leaving to form the Champions. But for Miles, his powers and his awesome mind actually lent a lot to the Avengers while he was there, and in return, he learned a heck of a lot from the older heroes while he was on that team. The Smashers of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard are human-like aliens using exospecs to grant themselves powers. Now for a long time, Vril Rock was the Soul Smasher, but he unfortunately met his end at the hands of the incredibly powerful mutant Vulcan. Isabel Izzy Kane is the granddaughter of World War II hero and Captain America buddy, Captain Terror. She was first ever introduced in Avengers Volume 5 #1, and Izzy found the exospecs of a Smasher on the farm that she was raised on. These exospecs spoke to her and beckoned her to put them on, giving her access to the Smasher's powers. Izzy then traveled to the Shi'ar world of Chandalar, where she became a sub-guardian of the Imperial Guard. Now after returning back home to Earth, Izzy's grandfather with his last words told her to become a hero, and he gave her Captain America's business card, which, I'm sorry, that's kind of hilarious. Now being the first and only human recruit of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, gaining super strength, speed, energy blasts, and flight, plus her adventurous spirit and her grandfather's legacy, Captain America brought her onto the Avengers pretty quickly and with no contest, making her a big part of the team's spacefaring adventures. Vani Gast was the daughter of the Grand Master, one of the Elders of the Universe. She grew up exploring the cosmos by her father's side. Now when her father's title was threatened, she was granted teleportation powers that also had the added benefit of being able to alter people's memories. Vani took up the hero name Voyager and headed to Earth. Now Voyager met up with the Avengers and used her powers to insert herself into their memories as Valerie Vector, a founding member of the team who had bit the dust in the battle against the Squadron Sinister, which had removed her from existence and from everyone's memory. The Avengers' longtime butler, Edwin Jarvis, had collapsed due to an illness shortly before Voyager's arrival, so naturally, when Voyager arrived to the hospital Jarvis had just woken up in, he exposed the truth that Voyager had never actually been an Avenger. While this obviously didn't do her any favors, and she was pretty much booted from the team, she did admit that this was all the plan of her father, while she was actually inspired by the heroes and helped the Avengers to save the day a few times. And last up, the Avengers Unity Squad, first appearing in Uncanny Avengers, was an attempt to try and mend the human-mutant conflict after the events of Avengers vs. X-Men. The idea? To take some X-Men, to take some Avengers, and just put them together. It's kind of surprising that it really hasn't been done before. Now, one of the first main recruits, handpicked by Captain America himself in Uncanny Avengers Volume 1, Number 1 from 2012, was none other than Anna Marie, aka Rogue. Being a former villain and still mourning the loss of Charles Xavier, Rogue caused quite a bit of friction on this new team. She originally joined in order to keep an eye on the Scarlet Witch, who was also in the team of heroes, and as most of you know, caused quite a devastating blow to the mutant community with M-Day. But as time passed, Rogue became one of the most valuable members of the team, even growing to become its leader. But if we are talking about most powerful, while Rogue was on this team, she managed to absorb all the major Marvel heroes' powers and fought off a Celestial. So I'd say that's pretty darn powerful.
While others on the team might have the greatest potential for power, Robbie Reyes is a bit more experienced when it comes to his powers. And even when he was less experienced, he accidentally killed one of the previous Star Brands, Kevin Connor, in Marvel Legacy, which is pretty crazy. For those reasons, I thought we should include him on this list. Robbie Reyes first appeared in 2014 in All New Ghost Rider issue number 1. While debuting in the comics during the All New initiative, like the title claims, he is also an all-new Ghost Rider. During a street race gone wrong, Robbie was killed and ended up possessed by the ghost who haunted the car he was driving, becoming the new Ghost Rider. He joined up with the Avengers around 2018, joining them in their battle against the Dark Celestials. Personally, Robbie is actually one of my favorite Ghost Riders, and I think Ghost Rider in general as a character makes a great addition to the Avengers team. Ghost Rider's just so powerful. Weapon America is one of the members of a multiversal team of Avengers that we saw appear in Avengers Assemble Omega. This was a big comic with a lot of new Avengers, both in terms of characters who are new and new recruits to the team in general. First introduced, Weapon America is a member of the Howling Commandos on his Earth 20504. He seems to be a combination of multiple characters in terms of his appearance, abilities, and likeness, appearing as a blend of Captain America, Wolverine, with some nuke mixed in as well. He's got the nuke tattoo and everything. And also, yes, if you were wondering, this is one of the Avengers that's also part of Avengers Prime team. Loki Avengers Prime, not 2013 Avengers Prime. Next up, Mr. Sweeney, aka the Bruiser? Now, while the Bruiser isn't really an Avengers member technically, he did recently join up with the group in a way as an ally. We recently learned in the comics that the true identity of Mr. Sweeney was that of, yeah, Bruiser. Initially, the Bruiser was a villain who made his first appearance in the 80s in the comics in Avengers issue 201. That's the direct issue after the tragically iconic issue 200. Yeah, that issue 200. In issue 201 though, Jarvis actually takes on the Bruiser on his own. He finds out that the Bruiser has been terrorizing the neighborhood of the Bronx, and specifically Jarvis's mom, who lives there. In retaliation, Edwin Jarvis takes on the Bruiser himself, refusing to call the Avengers for a matter that he feels can just be easily handled with some help from himself by the neighborhood. Jarvis boxes the Bruiser and inspires the people in the neighborhood to unite and rise up against the Bruiser, and in the end, the Bruiser is basically forced to admit defeat and he ends up retreating. Now it seems years later, appearing as Mr. Sweeney, that the Bruiser has turned over a new leaf and instead of fighting against Jarvis has actually found employment as his assistant. I kind of love it. More an Avengers ally here than a straight up Avenger, but this was such a cute little cameo and like callback to the 80s, I just had to mention it. It's so random and I kind of love it. Although weirdly, this version of Nighthawk was actually a Mephisto creation. Kyle Richmond, or this version of him anyways, normally of the Squadron Supreme, ended up being recruited by the Avengers to help them in their fight against Mephisto. Perhaps it was because of his desire to do good as he is a hero, or his personal agenda against Mephisto, but for a time Nighthawk did join the team. Nighthawk is not normally considered to be a new character and has joined up with Captain America's Secret Avengers in the past as well during Civil War I, at least he did for a very short time, but technically that was a different Nighthawk, as this one is the one that is believed to have come into existence in 2018 as a construct that Mephisto created to be a member of Agent Phil Coulson's Squadron Supreme of America. Yeah. Oh, comics. I'm not exactly sure when this next member of the Avengers joined up with the team fully, specifically anyways, but I think in regards to the comics it would be somewhere around early 2023, when the multiversal Avengers were coming together as a team in the culmination of Jason Aaron's Avengers run. Yeah, Avengers Prime Multiversal Avengers, that multiversal Avengers. Captain Carter was one of the heroes who appeared there. Now if you are an MCU Peggy Carter or Haley Atwell fan like me, then you know Captain Carter from Multiverse of Madness, this and Marvel's What If animated series. But guess what? It also seems this character, or some other version of this character at least, also joined up with the Avengers in the comics as well. She appears throughout the major final story arc of Aaron's run, appearing in the main Avengers series, in Avengers Forever, and an Avengers Assemble Omega. This version of Carter came to be in the place of Steven Rogers. On her Earth, it was Peggy, not Steve, who became the super soldier between the two of them, and so she becomes Captain Carter instead of Captain America, for those that don't know. You know, we're in the future when you're recruiting a whole city to your cause. This is exactly what happened here with the Impossible City. The Impossible City was initially used as a base who was in the group of multiversal heroes. Initially in the comics, we aren't actually informed who were the ones that were behind that. What we do know though is after they left their base, their prisoners escaped. This villainous troop was known as the Ashen Combine. The Ashen Combine would then make the city their own base, and it would be the place they had their final stand against the Avengers. When the Ashen Combine was defeated, the Impossible City actually offered to join up with the Avengers team. Oh yeah, the Impossible City is also aptly named because it's sentient as well. Pretty impossible stuff. The Avengers accepted the offer, and as such, the Impossible City became an official member of the Avengers team. So yeah, now they have a whole city on their team. Nathan Summers ended up joining the Avengers team at a time when Captain America was seeking to present a show of unity. Hence, Cable ended up on the Avengers Unity division, which was meant to bring together the Avengers and X-Men after the events of Avengers vs. X-Men had created tension between the two superhero groups of Earth. Series-wise, the team was known as the Uncanny Avengers, with Cable joining up as early as issue 4. Technically, this is also volume 3 of Uncanny Avengers if you wanted to go find it yourself and give it a read. Cable is an extremely powerful telepath and telekinetic due to him being the offspring of X-Men member Cyclops and his wife, Mr. Sinister created clone of Jean Grey made from a spark of the Phoenix, Madeline Pryor. Despite Maddie being his birth mother, Jean has also kind of been like a mother to Nate after she was implanted with the memories of raising him, making him kind of like her retconned in a telepathic way son, with Maddie becoming more like kind of a surrogate in terms of her relationship with Nathan and just kind of how she's treated in the comics. I don't agree with it, but that's where it is. Formerly known to her as Baby Nathan, and back in the day as Baby Christopher. Constantly called Baby Christopher back in the day. And I feel like now when I call him Baby Christopher, people are like, do you know who we're talking about? It's Nathan Summers. And I'm like, yes, but remember when he was Baby Christopher? It's one of his names, so I guess it kind of makes sense. Joining up in the same issue as Nighthawk, who we talked about earlier, was Brandy Selby, aka the cosmic hero known as Starbrand. Starbrand was initially an infant whom the team adopted and raised together. She would rapidly grow up while in their care and would ultimately end up joining the team as one of their most powerful members. However, her time with the team was short-lived, and in the end she would sacrifice herself as a hero to protect the rest of the Avengers. Also, note to self, if I have a baby and I'm about to perish, maybe don't leave that baby in the care of the Avengers, because it might not work out. Avenger Prime was initially a name used by a character who was essentially all of the Avengers merged together. That version of the character made their first appearance in the 2013 Mighty Avengers series, but another character with that name also appeared much later on in the 2021 Free Comic Book Day Avengers and Hulk comic. There, Avengers Prime was shown to be the leader of the Deathlock Avengers forces who stand guard at the God Quarry, seeking to watch, protect, and warn against major multiversal threats and potential chronal collapses. We'd also come to learn that this Avenger Prime was actually an alternate reality version of Loki, who leads his own massive multiversal Avengers team. Yes, the one that characters like Weapon America appear on, and the Deathlock Avengers. Loki was forced to do this after coming to accept his very important role in the formation of the Avengers across the multiverse and across time. After attempting to dodge their assembling in his own timeline and acting as his Earth's sole protector, he accidentally caused the extermination of all life in his universe. Whoops. After attempting to end it all, Loki woke up in the God Quarry and found himself tasked with protecting all of time, assembling his own extensive team of Avengers to do so. But he was pretty embarrassed, so he mostly just kept to himself and stayed in the shadows. The Phoenix made her first appearance as a member of the Avengers a long time ago, way back in the past in 1 million BC, joining up with the prehistoric or Stone Age Avengers. How does this make her a new member? Well, while in canon this happened a long time ago, it wouldn't be revealed to us readers to have happened until the modern day, as the Avengers of 1 million BC first appeared in 2017 in Marvel Legacy issue number 1. So it's a super old character, but appeared pretty recently.
Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is the enigmatic Nighthawk, Kyle Richmond, a dark and brooding vigilante plucked from the alternate reality of the Squadron Supreme. Often compared to DC's Batman, Nighthawk boasts a similar set of skills: a master strategist, an unparalleled detective, and a brutal hand-to-hand fighter, further augmented by an arsenal of sophisticated gadgets. However, unlike the Caped Crusader, Nighthawk's path to the Avengers wasn't born from a crusade against crime, but rather a deeply personal vendetta. The cosmic demon Mephisto, a being of immense power, had systematically dismantled Nighthawk's life, leaving him with nothing but a thirst for revenge. Recognizing both Nighthawk's formidable abilities and the shared threat Mephisto posed, Black Panther extended an invitation to join Earth's mightiest heroes. Despite his solitary nature and preference for working from the shadows, Nighthawk accepted, understanding that even a lone wolf needs a pack when facing a cosmic-level threat. He is currently an active member, working alongside the Avengers, though his primary focus remains firmly on his ultimate goal, the utter destruction of Mephisto. Soaring in at number 9 is the valiant Jane Foster, a character whose journey has taken her from renowned astrophysicist to the mighty Thor and now, the newest Valkyrie. Jane's worthiness was undeniably proven when she lifted the enchanted hammer Mjolnir during a desperate time, embodying the power of Thor and defending Asgard with unparalleled courage. After the devastating War of the Realms, which saw the tragic fall of the Valkyrie Order, the ancient order of Asgardian warrior goddesses, Jane Foster was chosen to take up their mantle. As Valkyrie, she now wields the enchanted sword Underjarn, a blade capable of cleaving through mystical barriers and even the fabric of reality itself. Beyond her combat prowess, Valkyrie serves as a vital link between the living and the honored dead, possessing the power to ferry souls to and from the hallowed halls of Valhalla. This unique ability, combined with her experience as Thor, makes her an invaluable member of the Avengers, providing both martial strength and a crucial connection to the mystical realms. She is currently an active member of the team. Descending upon us at number 8 is the imperious king of Atlantis, Namor, the Submariner. A powerful and often controversial figure, Namor is a complex character, a ruler who has fiercely protected his underwater kingdom, often placing him in direct conflict with the surface world. His immense pride, volatile temper, and questionable allegiances have seen him labeled both hero and villain throughout his long history. However, a recent and crushing defeat, which resulted in the devastating loss of his kingdom, served as a harsh awakening for the once unflappable monarch. Seeking a path to redemption and a chance to atone for past transgressions, Namor found an unlikely ally in She-Hulk. Recognizing the potential for change within the humbled king, she extended an offer to join the Avengers. With his unparalleled superhuman strength, the ability to breathe both air and water, command over marine life, and mastery of the oceans themselves, Namor brings a unique and formidable power set to the team. Though he currently serves as an active member, his past actions and inherent arrogance still occasionally create friction within the ranks, making his presence a constant source of both strength and tension. Taking the number 7 spot is the remarkable Echo Maya Lopez, a deaf Native American hero whose unique abilities set her apart in the world of superhuman combat. Echo possesses the extraordinary gift of photographic reflexes, allowing her to instantly and flawlessly mimic any physical action she witnesses. This makes her an incredibly adaptable and dangerous fighter, able to master any martial art or combat technique with a single glance. However, Echo's journey took a monumental leap forward when she became the chosen host of the Phoenix Force, a primordial cosmic entity of unimaginable power, capable of creation and destruction on a universal scale. This fusion of unparalleled martial skill and cosmic might has transformed Echo into one of the most formidable beings on Earth and a powerhouse member of the Avengers. Her connection to the Phoenix Force not only amplifies her already impressive abilities, but also adds a crucial cosmic dimension to the team's roster, preparing them for threats that originate far beyond the confines of the planet. She remains an active and powerful member of the team, grappling with the immense responsibility that comes with wielding the Phoenix Force. Number 6 brings us the master of Kung Fu, Shang-Chi. Recruited by Tony Stark, Shang-Chi initially hesitated to embrace the technological side of superheroics. However, he eventually came to understand the value of teamwork and diverse approaches to combat. His mastery of countless martial arts styles, combined with his newfound control over the 10 rings, makes him a deadly opponent. He represents a bridge between ancient martial arts traditions and the modern world of superheroics. Current status: an active and and valued member of the team. At number 5, we have the Daywalker, Blade. A half-vampire with a burning vendetta against the creatures of the night, Blade was recruited by Black Panther to deal with a rising vampire threat. His expert swordsmanship, superhuman abilities, and immunity to vampire bites make him the perfect weapon against the undead. Blade's presence on the team highlights the Avengers' willingness to confront supernatural threats head-on. His recent possession by Varney during the Blood Hunt event has caused some lingering tension, highlighting the dangers they face. Current status, active, but navigating the aftermath of his possession. Number 4 takes us back to 1982, Monica Rambeau, the second Captain Marvel. Monica possesses the incredible ability to transform into any form of energy along the electromagnetic spectrum, from visible light to gamma rays. She was introduced to the Avengers by Spider-Man, seeking help in mastering her powers. She quickly became a prominent member and even led the team for a time. Monica was recently trapped in an alternate reality after sealing a hole in the universe. She sacrificed herself to ensure the safety of the multiverse. Current status, trapped in an alternate reality, but her impact on the team remains. At number 3, we have the Black Knight Dane Whitman, wielding the cursed ebony blade, a weapon that grants him enhanced abilities but also whispers dark temptations. The Black Knight is a warrior torn between his heroic nature and the blade's corrupting influence. He initially infiltrated the Masters of Evil before proving his loyalty to the Avengers. His swordsmanship and the power of the Ebony Blade make him a valuable asset in battle. Current status, active member, constantly battling the influence of the Ebony Blade. Coming in at number 2, we revisit Echo, this time in her earlier role as Ronin. Joining the new Avengers in 2005, Echo initially operated in the shadows, infiltrating the criminal underworld of Japan. This period showcases her versatility and willingness to take on dangerous undercover missions. It's a testament to her dedication to justice, even before she gained the Phoenix Force. Current status, active, now as the Phoenix Force host on the main Avengers team. And finally, at number 1, we have the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. While he had been offered membership before, Spider-Man officially joined the new Avengers in 2005. His superhuman strength, agility, wall-crawling abilities, and iconic web shooters make him one of the most recognizable and beloved heroes in the world. Spider-Man's everyman quality and unwavering sense of responsibility make him a relatable and inspiring figure. Current status, active member of the main Avengers team.
At number 10, we have Sersi. A member of the Eternals, Sersi has been perfecting her craft for tens of thousands of years and has spent a decent amount of time as an Avenger. First introduced in the Eternals number 3, she ends up officially joining the Avengers in Avengers number 314. Some say she joins out of interest in protecting the world and its inhabitants from harm, but others say it's because she's in love with Captain America. Regardless, without even considering her strength yet, her invulnerability is impressive enough. It's understood that the only way to kill Sersi is by reducing her to atoms and scattering them throughout the cosmos. And on top of this is her impressive ability known as transmutation, which allows her to change the molecular structure of her targets, which is a pretty fun power. Anywhere from turning enemies into jelly to disintegrating air itself to creating sentient life out of nothing, Sersi just had to appear on this list. At number 9 is Vision. Now, if you're more familiar with the MCU than the comics, you may know Vision as more of a tragic character, but Vision is anything but that in the comics, from his power levels to his unique origin story. In Avengers number 57, Vision is still created by Ultron, but his body is formed using Horton cells to replace human anatomy, and his consciousness is made to replicate that of Wonder Man and a little bit of Alex Lipton. Then once he sets off to tear apart the Avengers, he disobeys his orders and instead joins them, becoming one of the leading members as a result. And it's quite the acquisition for the Avengers because Vision is widely considered one of the most powerful of all time. For example, that one time when he increases his density and turns himself into a meteorite to take out Nefaria in Avengers number 166, or how he proves his worthiness of Mjolnir in the MCU, which is a huge moment for any hero, especially in AI. He's also got his extremely powerful energy blasts, his incorporeal form that he can use on command, and immortality. If he isn't ever destroyed, he will basically survive as long as his parts get repaired every once in a while. And plus, he's just a very pragmatic hero, capable of using heightened intelligence to keep emotions out of every decision he makes. At number 8, we have Wonder Man. Where do we begin with this guy? Well, firstly, for those of you who don't know, Wonder Man is another case where he initially fights against the Avengers before coming around and joining them. Wonder Man Superman is essentially immortal, having been resurrected from temporary deaths multiple times and getting stronger each time, might I add. He is an ionic powered being who doesn't age and doesn't need oxygen, food, or water to survive. But that's just speaking to his invulnerability. He's also a shapeshifter with adept teleportation and martial arts abilities. He's known to be in the 100-ton strength class, putting him up there in power levels with the Sentry, the Hulk, and Thor. Oh yeah, and he can't be infected by a symbiote, which is great news for the Avengers, who would basically be done for if that happened. Some of his more impressive feats include knocking out Hercules, Namor, and Abomination, as well as holding off the Thing, and of course taking down Ultron with his bare hands. The only thing holding Wonder Man back is his inflated ego and insecurities about his powers, as well as his somewhat vague sense of right and wrong at times, but that's not much of a downside considering how powerful this Avenger is. At number 7, we have the world breaker himself, the Incredible Hulk. Need I expound on this one? The Hulk has always been known as one of the Avengers' most valuable assets, and even with his weakness being that he lacks control over his actions, his power level alone outbalances that shortcoming by a long shot. Besides, part of what makes the Hulk so important to the team is that he's unhinged. If he actually had a conscience, it would be argued that he wouldn't exude quite as much strength at times, considering a lot of it is confused rage induced. In Marvel Comics Presents number 52, he destroys an asteroid twice the size of Earth, he tears the fabric of reality in The Incredible Hulk number 126, and during Secret Wars he holds up a mountain range on his own to protect his fellow Avengers. And as often as he causes problems for Earth, he has also protected it from cataclysmic events many times, like the time when he prevents an earthquake with his own hands. This hero is probably the strongest on the list in terms of brute fighting strength, and if we'd made this list about 20 years ago, he'd probably be in the top 3. But these days there are just more to come that simply deliver just a little bit more than sheer brute strength. Like Hyperion, who's in our number 6 spot. Known by some as the Superman of Marvel, Hyperion has a ridiculously impressive power set and a very complex motivation for heroism. Although there are plenty of different iterations of this hero, the one most commonly known to be an Avenger originates from a recently destroyed universe. And what's more is that he has to relive this experience in his mind repeatedly due to his non-linear light-based memory. This is important to note on a list about power because it really explains why this hero puts so much into his work as a superhero, to create happier memories for him to experience in perpetuity. But an even better gauge for his powers are his feats as a hero, such as the time when he lifts Atlantis, yes the city, and destroys it single-handedly before beheading Namor in 2016 Squadron Supreme number 1. He's also got extreme speed while flying, traveling from Nevada to Sumatran and back in less than a minute. That's speed that could contend with some speedsters, and Hyperion does it while flying. At number 5 is Blue Marvel. A very underrated and underdiscussed hero given his power levels, Blue Marvel has a stint as an Avenger, and no one really talks about it. Known to be as powerful as Thor and the Hulk, Blue Marvel has redirected enormous asteroids single-handedly, as well as sending Sentry into space with one punch. But he isn't known only for his brute strength. His matter manipulation is equally powerful and impressive, giving him the ability to transmute matter at a molecular level and harness antimatter at will. This makes him an excellent support member to the Avengers as well, giving him the ability to heal the wounds of his allies. And let's be honest, a hero adept with molecular manipulation powers doesn't often also have the strength to one-shot Ultimate Hulk or three-shot King Hyperion and contend against the Avengers after just returning from a 40-year retirement. Nor do they have Reed Richards saying that they might be 3 times smarter than Dr. Doom. But Blue Marvel does. He has all of this under his belt. There's just nobody out there quite like him. Other than maybe the guy who sits in our number 4 slot, Sentry. Although he is known to be one of the more troubled and self-sabotaging heroes in the Marvel Universe, Sentry's insane power levels and diverse power set still rank him at our number 4 slot on this list. Much like Blue Marvel, Sentry has Hulk-like strength as well as transmutation abilities, except he also deals with psionic energy as well as light manipulation. And he can also regenerate his molecules from nothing, meaning that he will always exist unless someone finds a very crafty way of combating or undoing this ability. The only caveat to all this is that Sentry has this evil alter ego called the Void, who is known to be even more powerful than he is, and is known as the being to have destroyed Asgard in the Siege storyline. And even though Sentry has struggled with mental illness causing his abilities and heroic feats to be rather inconsistent, the fact of the matter is that Sentry is one of the most powerful heroes in the universe, not just the Avengers. At number 3 we have the one and only God of Thunder, Thor. These top 3 were tough for me to rank because they're such popular and fluctuating characters in both the comics and the MCU, but it's fair to say that Thor takes a spot in the top 3 based on his insane influence on the Avengers as well as his sheer power potential. Originally known to be the only other being in the Marvel Universe to contend with the Hulk, Thor has only grown stronger over the years, with plenty of other heroes filling the gap between him and the Worldbreaker. And some of these feats that he has attained have been due to his extremely lengthy existence, having been a practicing warrior for millennia. Using his belt of strength and his hammer Mjolnir, Thor is also one of the best equipped heroes in the universe. He is powerful enough to resist the gravitational pull of a neutron star, knock out the Phoenix Force with one blow, and famously take out Mangog and Thanos in back-to-back fights. I could stand here and pretend to convince you, the real fans know that the only argument here is that maybe Thor could be placed even higher on the list. That would only knock out our number 2 spot, Scarlet Witch, and I'm not sure how I'd feel about that, because this hero is just an absolute powerhouse for the Avengers. She is the daughter of Magneto, or maybe not, as of recently, but I liked it better when she was, and she possesses an extremely dangerous and powerful set of magical abilities. Known to be able to manipulate reality on a cosmic scale, Scarlet Witch's powers have grown exponentially since her introduction in the X-Men number 4 in 1964. She has famously eliminated the powers of 99% of all mutants with one whisper during the House of M storyline, which is an absolutely insane feat of power. But she's also shown that she's possibly capable of creating whole universes on command, which brings her to yet another crazy level of power. Some people might argue to put her further back on the list because of her volatility as a hero, or arguably an anti-hero, but I honestly think that her powers are just too impressive to be outweighed by her struggles to control them. In fact, I almost put her at number 1, but the top spot had to go to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange started off as a character that might not have presented as much of a powerhouse, but over time he has proven himself to be the most valuable member that the Avengers have ever had. He is capable of bending time and space on command with adept precision, and can detect threats from extreme distances in space and time before they even occur. And if you take issue with this number 1 placement, just think of the scale of the forces he's faced with within his own storylines. He has to protect the world from the likes of Dormammu, Nightmare, and Yurthona, among many other godlike demons. But what really makes Doctor Strange the most powerful out of all the Avengers is that he doesn't need to contend with opposition on the plane of reality that they come to him in. He is able to view the future and decide on how he wants it to play out before changing the fabric of reality to control any outcome he's faced with. The only reason that I could imagine someone might keep him from the number 1 spot these days is that he's known to have been nerfed quite a bit in the last 20 years, but even today I'd still argue that his power set puts him in the top spot.
Number 10, Ava Ayala. From her introduction in the comics, Ava Ayala was pretty much always involved with the Avengers. She possesses the White Tiger amulet, which grants her her powers. She enrolled in the Avengers Academy and was later declared an official Avengers member during her time with Luke Cage's Mighty Avengers in Volume 2 of the series named after the team, during the Infinity event. Fun fact, if you exclude Doc Ock's Superior Spider-Man, the Mighty Avengers would be considered to be an all-black superhero team. I think that's pretty cool. Number 9, Samuel Guthrie. Young Samuel Guthrie is also known as Nova, though he isn't the first one to take up that mantle. There have actually been many Novas, as Nova is short for Nova Centurion, and Centurion is a rank in the Nova Corps, which is a Xandarian military group who are mostly used in space exploration missions. Sam was the son of Jesse Alexander, who himself was a Nova Centurion. Sam ended up taking up his father's mantle after his father appeared to go missing. Sam would later end up crash landing on Earth and warning the Avengers of the incoming Phoenix Force during the Avengers vs. X-Men event. Siding with Avengers and doing his best to help them in their fight would grant Sam the opportunity to join the team. In Avengers vs. X-Men Volume 1 Issue 12, Thor offered him a membership to the team. While Nova admitted he felt he didn't do much to help, he was honored and accepted, pending his mother's approval of course. Cause you know, Nova's a youngster. He's gotta ask mom. Number 8. Blue Marvel. For those who aren't familiar with Adam Brashear, he is a brilliant engineer and physicist who ended up getting superpowers similar to Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel. He can absorb energy as well, but not quite in the same way. He can only absorb antimatter energy or energy from the negative zone, basically energy not of our world or universe. So he typically does a lot of space fighting as a result, cause it's kinda where he's the most useful. He's also sometimes known for his romantic relationship with Spectrum, aka Monica Rambeau. He wasn't acknowledged as an official member of the Avengers until the self-titled Mighty Avengers series Volume 2 out of 2012. Luke Cage, the team leader, acknowledged him as an Avenger during the Infinity event when he was helping the team. Though we would later find out that Adam had actually been part of a team predating Luke's from the 1970s, also referred to as the Mighty Avengers. But this wouldn't happen till issue 11 of the series, whereas he was welcomed to the team officially in issue 3 in regards to comic book timeline. So it was in the past, but it also happened after. You know, just normal retcons of sprinkling in more flavor. Number 7. Jane Foster. After Thor found he could no longer lift his hammer, Jane began to hear the call from Mjolnir. She had Heimdall take her to it and claim the hammer for herself. She was deemed worthy enough to pick it up and became Thor. Lady Thor, that is. Despite being diagnosed with cancer and finding out that her transformation into Thor wiped away all the progress of her chemo at the time, Jane continued to perform acts of heroism as Thor. Cause she's cool and brave like that. She has joined the Avengers team in a few instances, one being when she joined the Reformed team in the all-new, all-different Avengers series. Number 6. Miles Morales. Miles Morales is the Spider-Man of Earth 1610. He was mentored by Peter Parker of Earth 616 and eventually also ended up joining Earth 616 Avengers as well. He joined the team in the all-new, all-different Avengers series. Miles found himself tangled up with Iron Man and Sam Wilson, who was Captain America at the time, and a ragtag crew of heroes in an attempt to take down the Chitauri warlord known as Warbringer. The team wasn't referring to themselves as the Avengers yet, but of course as the series is named, that they would later be referred to as the Avengers. You're Avengers now, whether you like it or not. Number 5. Kamala Khan. I was just going to straight up title her as Miss Marvel cause I mean that's who she is to me now, but Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel was part of the Avengers way before what I would consider new, and I didn't want to cause any unnecessary confusion, so much respect to Kamala as Miss Marvel, but for clarity we're just going to call her by her civilian name here, Kamala Khan. I really love Kamala Khan as an Avenger as well. Kamala also joined up with the Avengers in the all-new, all-different Avengers series, also appearing in issue 1, where we saw Miles and Nova as well. The three heroes would actually later leave the Avengers to start their own superhero team known as the Champions. After helping to take down Warbringer, Stark would offer Kamala a place on the Avengers team, which of course she happily accepted. Number 4. Nadia Van Dyne. Nadia Van Dyne was originally just Nadia. She was the daughter of Hank Pym and his first wife, Maria Travoia. How did she end up with Janet Van Dyne's last name? Well, she asked her if she could use it. She felt she knew and admired Van Dyne more than her parents, whom she really had never known. In fact, Nadia was actually kidnapped at a young age and raised in Russia in the Red Room, where she was trained to become a spy, which is why we hadn't heard of her until much later. She eventually escaped her fate as a Red Room agent and decided to seek out her stepmother Janet and her father's teammates, the Avengers, after learning that her father had been killed in the fight against Ultron. Nadia also took up the codename Wasp. Following the events of Civil War II, she ended up joining the Avenger team herself. Janet and the rest of the team ended up warming to her, and Janet revealed that she actually approved of Nadia adopting her mantle. Aw, cute. Number 3. Dr. Tony Ho. After her father died saving Tony Stark's life, Tony resented Stark and strived to be better than him. I just realized this will be confusing because both of these people are named Tony. She studied programming and engineering at Caltech and ended up earning 3 doctorates by the age of 20. Her time with the Avengers began on Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot's team of Avengers, AIM. Da Costa changed the acronym to stand for Avengers Idea Mechanics. She has appeared in the new Avengers comics and eventually left AIM to join the US Avengers and ended up taking up the mantle of Iron Patriot. Tony creates her own armored combat suits similar to Iron Man's, which she refers to as rescue armor. She refers to them as rescue armor probably because they're all non-lethal as well. That's kind of her thing. She's all about non-lethal fighting, keeping things safe. Number 2. Ghost Rider. Robbie Reyes is the Ghost Rider we are talking about this time. He was first introduced in the all-new Ghost Rider and is a car mechanic by day who street races at night in an effort to get money to help him and his brother move out of their rough neighborhood. He ends up possessed by the vengeful spirit of his uncle Eli and becomes Ghost Rider. Eventually, Robbie joins up with the Avengers. You can see him fight alongside the team in the new Avengers comic series out of 2018 to 2019 Volume 8. At one point, he even becomes the heart of an event where he is granted the powers of the other Avengers so that he can eventually go up against and hopefully take on what appears to be the Dark Celestials. Appears to be anyways. I know. What a story, right? He's also just a really sweet older brother. Also, cars. Number 1. Voyager. Vini Gost is the daughter of Grandmaster Endwi Gost. She originally used her powers to infiltrate the Avengers, inserting herself into their memories to make them believe she was a long-lost founding member of the team known as Valerie Vector. Voyager did that for her dad, Endwi Gost, to help him protect his title of Grandmaster, basically to help guarantee a winning wager on a contest he had gambled his title on with her uncle Challenger, who sought to win the bet and usurp her father. He used to be the Grandmaster before. Anyways, it's a lot of history, so we'll skip that. In the end, her true identity was revealed by Jarvis. After being inspired by the Avengers' true heroics, she decided to switch sides, defecting and seeking to help them and Earth instead. In the end, they offered Voyager a membership. Though she declined, she did agree to return to reclaim her membership at a later time. And in the series Avengers No Road Home, she is acknowledged as an Avenger on the character intro page.
Starting us off in at number 10, War Machine. War Machine, aka James Rhodes, was one of the initial members of the Secret Avengers, but eventually was assigned as the government's own Iron Man due to a contract between Tony Stark's Stark Resilient Company and the Pentagon. He served as a lieutenant at the time. But let's jump back for a sec. James Rhodes first appeared in Iron Man issue 118 in 1979, but wouldn't suit up until a handful of years later in 1983 in Iron Man issue 170 when he donned the Iron Man mantle. He would eventually become War Machine in 1992 in Iron Man issue 282 after it was revealed that Tony Stark wasn't dead after all, and that he wanted Rhodey to have the variable threat response battlesuit, since it always kind of belonged to his pal anyway. His War Machine suit gives him the abilities similar to Stark's in his Iron Man suit, including superhuman strength, durability, supersonic flight, and the use of an energy repulsor and a variety of offensive and defensive weaponry at his disposal. Rhodes would rejoin the team as part of one of the Marvel Now recruits, but as Iron Patriot, leaving the team once again in Secret Avengers Volume 1, Issue 16. Moving on to number 9, the Human Torch. We're talking Jim Hammond here. The Human Torch, the android version of the character, is one of a handful of characters on this list that aren't one of the original Secret Avengers team members from the 2010 iteration. Hammond would become known as one of the Shattered Heroes recruits, who joined the team during Secret Avengers issue 22 in 2012. But Hammond's history goes way further back than that. A Golden Age hero, he was one of Timely Comics' signature characters, Timely being Marvel's predecessor. While the Johnny Storm version of the Human Torch would adapt Hammond's abilities, their origins couldn't be any more different. Hammond is an android created by Professor Phineas T. Horton. At his grand unveiling, the android burst into flames when exposed to oxygen, and was perceived to be a threat to the public. He was sealed in concrete as a safety measure, but the sentient robot broke free thanks to a crack that let oxygen seep through. He can manipulate fire, is resistant to it, can fly, and can survive without oxygen for long periods of time. Hammond would eventually depart from the team during Secret Avengers issue 37. Moving on to number 8, Moon Knight. Mark Spector was one of the original 9 teammates that made up the first iteration of the Secret Avengers. He's also one of their most intriguing members, being an expert detective often compared to Batman from DC Comics. Mark Spector was initially a boxer and US Marine, and is an expert in a variety of different forms of hand-to-hand combat including Judo, Kung Fu, and Muay Thai. He gained his superhuman powers from the Egyptian moon god Khonshu, giving him superhuman strength, endurance, and reflexes, all based on the phases of the moon. But those powers would be removed from the character in 2007 during his solo Midnight Sun arc, with Spector admitting that he lost them due to disobedience. Spector also has multiple personalities and is notoriously psychologically unstable. Spector would leave the Secret Avengers in issue 21. Up next, looking at the team leader himself, in at 7, Captain Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is yet another one of Timely's staple trifecta, having been created in 1941 by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Designed as a wartime patriotic super soldier, often fighting against the Axis powers of World War II, the character would fall into obscurity in 1950, showing up a few times and then later being revived in 1964, where he was thawed out of ice and became one of the Avengers. He has been on many a team in the past, most famously, obviously the Avengers, but has dabbled in other iterations corporations, including the Secret Avengers. His strength comes from the Super Soldier Serum, giving him peak human strength, speed, durability, agility, reflexes, senses, and an accelerated healing factor. In addition to that, he is a master tactician, strategist, and field commander, and definitely knows his way around hand-to-hand combat. Steve would leave the team in Secret Avengers issue 22, but eventually return to his position as the leader of the Avengers, resuming his role as Captain America. And fun fact, the costume that Cap wears in the MCU film Captain America the Winter Soldier was inspired by the Super Soldier costume that he wore in the first volume of Secret Avengers. Moving on to 6, Captain Britain. Here we have a member from the Shattered Heroes recruits. Captain Britain, aka Brian Braddock, found himself joining up in issue 22 of the first volume of Secret Avengers. Captain Britain first appeared in 1976's Captain Britain issue 1, a comic exclusively published in the UK by Marvel. He has superhuman strength, speed, endurance, agility, durability, reflexes, and senses. He can create force fields, energy beams, and he can even fly. His powers were initially thanks to a mystical amulet called the Amulet of Right, which Braddock would rub to transform into his superhero persona, but that would later change with his powers being tied to his emotions instead. Up next at 5, Agent Venom, aka Flash Thompson. Flash Thompson is yet another Shattered Heroes recruit. He is a character who has been around for quite some time, first appearing in Amazing Fantasy issue 15 in 1962 during Spider-Man's debut, as a school peer bully of Peter Parker's. He would eventually mature, becoming a close friend of Peter's, learning his secret identity, and eventually joining the US Army after he graduated college. He ended up losing both of his legs in the Iraq War, and turned to alcoholism to deal with his trauma. But eventually the military decided to enlist him again for other means. He would become Agent Venom, bonding with the Venom symbiote, allowing him to use his legs again, all while controlling Venom thanks to a cocktail of drugs. As Agent Venom, he can not only walk again, but he has superhuman strength, agility, reflexes, endurance, and can produce organic webbing. He has an immunity to spider sense, can shapeshift and camouflage to an extent, and can cling to almost any surface, creating his own armor and forming his own limbs. Thompson also left the Secret Avengers in issue 37. Up next at 4, Nova. Nova, the Richard Rider iteration, was a part of the original team of Secret Avengers, leaving during the events of issue 5 of the very first volume. Richard was technically first created by Marv Wolfman in his fanzine Super Adventures in 1966. He wouldn't become a part of the Marvel Universe until 1976 in a story called The Man Called Nova, issue 1. He was meant to be an homage to Spider-Man, but a more cosmic version. So what can Nova do? Well, he is capable of flight, he has superhuman strength, speed, and durability, and he can exert influence over gravitational forces, and even open up wormholes. He would also come into possession of the Xandarnian World Mind, which allowed him near infinite control over the Nova Force, which gave him the ability to use energy projection and absorption. So in all, not too shabby. Unfortunately, Richard Rider would eventually die during the events of the Thanos Imperative. In our number 3 spot, Beast. Beast, aka Hank McCoy, was part of the first iteration of Secret Avengers that began in 2010. He is by far one of the most physically intimidating team members thanks to his mutation. But Beast is definitely not just brawn. His character is known for his superior genius level intellect, being a brilliant, well-educated individual with a witty sense of humor and a reliable authority on biochemistry and genetics. His mutation gives him an animal-esque physiology, enhancing his physical attributes along with giving him sharp claws and teeth. He also employs a unique acrobatic fighting style when in battle. He can jump great distances, and his feet are sensitive enough to detect electronic signals, the likes of listening devices or bombs. Although Hank would depart from the Secret Avengers in issue 37, much like some of his other teammates. Up next, number 2, Valkyrie. Another OG member at this number. If we were looking at just the original team members of the Secret Avengers, Valkyrie, aka Brunhild, would have topped our list altogether. And as Guardian hero, she initially was selected by Odin to lead his personal unit of shield maidens, and became known for her prowess in battle. Her powers are based off of her Asgardian physiology. Her body is several times denser than humans, and while she is an immortal, she ages at a much slower rate than we do. Plus, she's immune to earthly diseases. She has enhanced strength and stamina, and is one of the most skilled warriors of the 9 realms, having extensive training in sword fighting, unarmed combat, and horseback riding, with her natural fighting abilities amongst the best of all Asgardians. She has an enchanted sword called Dragon Fang that was carved from a tooth of an extra-dimensional dragon. She can also perceive the approach of death thanks to something called a death glow, an aura of sorts that surrounds a person's body that reveals to her their death is imminent. Valkyrie would eventually depart from the Secret Avengers, also in issue 37 along with Beast. And finally, last but not least, in at 1, the Hulk. The Hulk became a member of the Secret Avengers following the Avengers vs. X-Men storyline in the Marvel Comics, along with the fight against the Descendants. S.H.I.E.L.D. took control of the Secret Avengers operations, which involved adding new recruits to the team like Mockingbird, Taskmaster, and Hulk himself. They're considered to be the Marvel Now recruits. Anywho, it's pretty obvious why Hulk tops this list. The angrier the Hulk gets, the stronger he gets, and the more invulnerable he is. His anger empowerment ability makes him one of the most powerful and straight up strongest individuals in the the Marvel Universe in the comics, and it's rare we encounter an individual capable of withstanding his attacks and outmatching his endurance and stamina. He can even survive nuclear attacks and is proven to outlast most other Earth-based heroes, as seen in a handful of alternate timeline stories in the multiverse. And unlike the rest, the Hulk didn't officially depart the Secret Avengers team, but the last time he was present in the comics as one of their members was in Volume 2 of the series in issue 15.